Alright, here we are. Hello everyone, thanks for being here. Today I will be presenting on a Colorado-based nonprofit called AdvocacyDenver. This organization has been around for decades and plays a major role in protecting the rights of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I chose this nonprofit because it connects directly with issues of communication, equity, and community support, and I think it's a group more people should know about. I also think it's really important since groups and just people with disabilities are often judged and discriminated against, and I think it's very important that there's people out there advocating for that, especially a group, a nonprofit, just advocating for people with disabilities and people who might not have equal access to a lot of things that people who are considered, I guess, normal have access to. Pictured below on the left is their logo, and yeah, I hope you enjoy this presentation. To give a quick perspective, about 1 in 6 children in the U.S. have a developmental disability. For many families, getting the right support through schools, healthcare systems, or legal processes can be confusing and stressful. A lot of people don't know where to start, or they feel like their voices aren't heard, but AdvocacyDenver, their role is to change that and make people feel more, involved and educated on these things. In this presentation, I'll talk to you about their background, who they help, the work they do, the impact they've had, and why I chose to highlight them. There are a lot of nonprofits in Colorado, but I picked AdvocacyDenver because it focuses on a group that often doesn't get enough attention, which is people with disabilities and their families. It stood out to me because their work goes beyond just awareness. They step in directly to help people with things like educational rights, legal advocacy, health access, and public policy. I think it connects very well with just our core skills around communication and creating a more humane world. AdvocacyDenver was founded back in 1954 by parents who were frustrated that their children with disabilities weren't getting fair treatment or access to services. At that time, there were very few protections in place. Pictured here on the right is a supposed picture of Denver in 1954. I don't know if it actually is, but that is when this nonprofit was founded and it started making a difference. But over the years, the organization has grown into a major advocacy force in the Denver metro area. Their mission is simple, powerful, to protect and promote the rights of individuals with developmental and intellectual disabilities. They do that through direct support, legal guidance, and policy change. A lot of people think advocacy in general just means speaking out on policies, but AdvocacyDenver works on a personal level as well. And I'll talk about some of the key things they do. I have 4 main key things that I like to highlight. The educational support, help families navigate IEP meetings, school accommodations, and disputes within school districts. Also, legal and policy advocacy. They speak on behalf of clients in legal settings and help influence local and state disability policies. They also help navigate services, assist with things like Medicaid waivers, housing, and healthcare systems, which are built to be pretty confusing, I would say. But they also do training and educational work, finally. This is the last one to cover. But they would hold workshops to help families, caregivers, community members, just helping people better understand disability rights, since it's very important, and it just ensures that people aren't just protected by the law, but are also supported in real life by advocates. The main people they serve are children, teenagers, adults, pretty much anyone with developmental or intellectual disabilities, as well as their families. Excuse me. Many of the families they help face financial or cultural barriers that make it hard to access services. They also work with school systems, healthcare workers, legal advocates, and policymakers by acting as a bridge between families and institutions. They make sure people aren't ignored or dismissed just because they don't know the right process or language to use. Advocacy Denver has made a big impact over the years. For example, they've helped families challenge unfair school practices, and they've published, they've published a lot of stuff just trying to educate the community on policies, and they pushed for stronger disability protections in Denver public schools. They've also supported clients in accessing housing and Medicaid services, which can be incredibly complicated to secure. And on the policy side, they've been involved in legislative changes that affect disability rights statewide. Each year, they directly help hundreds of individuals and families, and indirectly support thousands more through policy work and public education. If you look on the website, there is a lot to navigate. Like, they have a lot of work that they've done. They've published a lot of stuff to kind of help educate on policies and on important things for people with disabilities who may not normally have access to this information. Their work is important because without advocates, a lot of people fall through the cracks. Systems like education, healthcare, and housing aren't built to be easy to navigate, especially for families dealing with disabilities. Advocacy Denver makes sure that people are not just included on paper, but are actually supported in practice, and that has a ripple effect on entire communities, because when people with disabilities have access to rights, society as a whole becomes more equitable and humane. On the right here, I've just put a quote about equity and success. One of the nice things about this organization is that there's a lot of ways to get involved. People can volunteer their time, donate, or just help spread awareness about their services, which can go a long way. Even just sharing resources with someone who might need them can make a difference. But they help with interns and school students interested in advocacy. They pretty much work with everybody. Communication, social work, policy, whatever you kind of are interested in, they can put you in. Involvement doesn't always just mean money. It's also community-based, which I think is really nice. And for a lot of nonprofits, it's usually money, but it's nice to kind of have more of an engagement side. To wrap up, Advocacy Denver has spent around 70 years fighting for disability rights, supporting families, and working on policy and education. They help people who might otherwise be overlooked. They help make Colorado more inclusive and fair, and I chose them because advocacy work often happens behind the scenes, but it changes real lives. I think more people should know about this organization and the role it plays in supporting human rights in our state. Thank you for listening. My information came from Advocacy Denver's official website, the Colorado Nonprofit Association, and local reporting on their policy work and community impact. Thank you.